Again, I really appreciate your being here. I think, as you could tell from this clip, if obviously most of you seen Fargo, there is an unusual, unsettling, creepy, kind of really scary tone to this that I don't know how you maintain it episode to episode, but what also the brilliance of how they are able to change the complete storyline every year is truly amazing. So let's go back to the very beginning of Fargo. Obviously, everyone's really aware of the fact that this came out of the minds of the Coen brothers for the very famous, iconic film. But they're not actively involved in the show. They are involved in the show, but not actively. And so for both of you, I want to start out by saying, or asking, how did the show or the network, number one, secure the support and involvement of the Coen brothers in a TV project, which that alone is an amazing accomplishment. And then, for Noah, what were you trying to show Joel and Ethan that you understand about their world that allowed them to entrust you with it?
You want to start?
Yeah, so, I mean, originally the inception of the project from our standpoint was a conversation between Eric Schreier, who's a really gifted executive who works for me, one of the co-presidents of entertainment and original programming at FX and FX Productions, who talked to his counterpart at MGM. And they were just looking through a long list of films that MGM controlled, and Fargo was on it, and Eric said, what about Fargo? And so that initiated the project, but then another key phone call was from Warren Littlefield, whom I've known for more than 20 years. I worked for him at NBC a long time ago. And Warren said, hey, I heard you guys are doing Fargo. I read about it, and you remember Noah Hawley. I'd met Noah when I was at Jersey Television working for Danny DeVito, and I knew his writing, and I knew it was great. And Warren said, you know, Noah has a really different take, right? It's not going to involve Marge Gunderson, the lead character from Fargo. It's going to be something different. Will you hear it? So Noah came in and pitched the show, and really his pitch in many ways was a very detailed, extremely insightful breakdown, exegesis of Fargo, the movie, of why Fargo, what are the key components to Fargo. And I have loved the film Fargo. It's literally one of my 10 favorite films. It's probably my favorite of the Coen brothers films, and they've made an awful lot of really good ones. And I thought his understanding of the film was way more insightful than mine, as someone who'd seen it a whole bunch of times. And so, we signed on, but against the backdrop of that, the key was to get the Coen brothers at least tacit approval to do it, because you don't take on the work of master storytellers without taking on the responsibility of trying to make something that matches the quality of their output. And I think it's fair to say that Noah knew how audacious and brave it was to take on Fargo, and I knew that when we announced the project, and I'm sure some of you, if you remember reading that announcement in the audience, would say those guys are idiots.
That's right.
How's that going to work? Right? That's never going to work. You're going to make a TV show that's a pale imitation of great film. The film is on the AFI's list of the 100 greatest American movies. And so the only other thing I'll say, but handing it off to Noah, is I think one of the most gratifying moments in the process for me was after the first script had been given to the Coen brothers and they had read it. And they just don't give notes. That's not what they do. They're not producers of that type. And so they said, well, can we do a little bit of writing on it? I said, okay, sure. So, ping, the email makes a noise, and the rewrite comes in, and it's honestly minuscule. They pitched a joke in some place. They added a scene that they had an idea about. And, they're men of few words when they're not writing screenplays. And I just thought that was their seal of approval. If they can take Noah's script and they can barely rewrite it in the vernacular and a whole new story of Fargo, then what they're saying is, yeah, this is Fargo.
Yeah, I mean, it was a terrible idea, and that was liberating. And then to make one, and it worked, and to throw it out and start again was an even worse idea. But
was your process, though, to deconstruct it first? I'm just curious on the creative process, how you approached this. Did you deconstruct the movie, and how did one?
Well, what was interesting was that the conversation that I had, and I had worked at FX before, was And the material was set up there without a writer. So what I heard was, we're interested in doing Fargo as a TV show. We're wondering, can you do it without Marge? By which they meant any character from the movie, because who else were you going to have? And so to adapt a movie without the characters or the story from the movie seemed very interesting to me, because what is that really? It's just a concept. And I went in and I said, well, first of all, I don't think it's a series, because what makes the movie so great is it's, you have this woman and she's thrown into this crazy Coen Brothers case and sees a lot of really horrible things. And at the end of it, her husband gets a 3-cent stamp and they've got 2 more months until the baby's born. And their reward is that tomorrow's a normal day. And for a movie that claims to be a true story, if she woke up tomorrow and it was another crazy Coen Brothers case, it wouldn't feel true and it would begin to feel a little precious, I think. So I said, it's not a series, which I guess I was trying not to get the job. And but the other thing I said is, why is the movie called Fargo? Because it takes place in Minnesota. And only the first scene takes place in North Dakota. But the reason you call it Fargo is the word Fargo itself is so evocative of a place, what Joel and Ethan have called Siberia with family restaurants. And now after the movie, it's also evocative of a type of story, right? A true crime story where truth is stranger than fiction. So I said, with that in mind, then Fargo becomes it's a mind space, really. And so you want to tell a story that feels like the movie but isn't the movie, and then you want to start again. And you say, all right, well, Fargo is this movie, and it's this first year, but can it also be this second year, which is a much bigger tableau, is sort of an American epic, a period piece, a lot more moving pieces. Can that also be Fargo? And so, I don't know, I felt like they rewarded us for the risk-taking we did in the first year, so I was hopeful that taking more risks would reap more, at least acknowledgement of the effort we put into it.
Yeah, obviously you've done an incredible job. It's already been so well received, literally out of the gate, which is all the more impressive because, as you said, I think everyone thought these guys are really suckers. They're just heading for a failure. It's just too monstrous of an approach. So there must have been something to do also with your relationship with John. Obviously, his track record is unmatched. But I'm curious, what is it about his track record that makes you, as a showrunner, feel like he has the creative abilities you can communicate with and tap into, that he's going to really support you, even though this is a very unusual project and you're not doing what they probably wanted you to do, which was to do a series that would just keep on going and viewers keep on being attached to?
Well, not only is the project unusual, but, I wrote that script in, I guess, November of that year. We decided we all wanted to make it, but it's a winter show, so we couldn't make it that winter. We had to wait an entire year till the next winter. And I said, well, if I have all that time, why don't I write all of them? And, so give me, 4 writers in a room, we'll break the whole thing, I'll give you outlines, and then I'll write. But what I did was, I had a script, and we broke the whole rest of the season, and I turned in a 115-page outline of the rest of the season, and I got a call saying that John wanted to set a 3-hour meeting, and I came out of broadcast TV, so first thought was, okay, they hate it. But really what it was is that it was a 115-page document, and John wanted to give me the respect of taking the time to respond to the document that I'd put into it. And so we sat there for 3 hours, and we talked through the entire thing on a character level, a thematic level, a structural level, our relationship, and I know that John has a similar relationship with all the creators, is, it's a very productive conversation, and there's always a point of view, and I'm not one of these people who went into this business because I never wanted a note, which seems crazy for a business that is built around the idea of getting notes. So, it's a give and take, but I know at the end of the day, as John says, it's a dialogue, and you hear us out, and then you make your decision. And there's certainly moments where I heard him out. I did what I wanted anyway, and then when I watched it back, in the cold light of day, I thought, oh yeah, he was right. That was self-indulgent, So it's an important process. it's an act of communication. So if something's confusing, or John might say, I know what you're going for, but I don't think you got there. I mean, that's what a good note is.